All right, we're good to go, Ilias.
Okay, great. So I will stop my video and share my screen with you. And here we are, I suppose. You can see my screen now, and here we are. Central Asia trip following the Silk Road, 4 countries: Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, from September 16th to October 1st, 16 days, 14 nights. Now, from the start, I need to mention that due to certain COVID complications that still haven't been remedied, we may have to, and possibly, quite possibly we will, have to change the itinerary a bit. I will first go over the itinerary as it is, and then at the end, I will talk about the possible changes, which I suppose will be finalized next week. So Central Asia, here is a map of the region, the 4 countries that we're going to visit, and a few more that we want. Uzbekistan is the main country here that will have our attention. And from there to the southwest, Turkmenistan, up north to Kazakhstan, which is to the north of Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan, all the way north up here, and Kyrgyzstan is to the east. More to the east lies China here, Tajikistan, which is not a part of our trip, and to the south of all is Afghanistan, which is here. So Central Asia is one of the, I would say, less known, neglected destinations in the world. You know, just with quite a number of other destinations in Asia, especially with, Far East and Southeast Asia, with Japan, China, Vietnam, Laos, Thailand. We are familiar with them, at least we have, just Chinese restaurants and Japanese restaurants. So they are kind of represented by their cuisines wherever we are. So we have that kind of familiarity, even if we haven't visited those places. But with Central Asia, neither of these countries are known for their cuisine, or they are not so frequently on the news, except when there is a political change, some kind of disturbance, or some strange decree or something decreed by the president of some country for some ridiculous reason. So all those things are in the background, and that makes, none of those bring the beauty, the all the things that make these countries interesting to the forefront. So with this trip, we will cover all these locations, starting with Tashkent, the capital of Uzbekistan. And we'll fly to Tashkent. We'll spend our time there, and then fly to west to the city of Urgench, where there is Khiva, the historic city. We'll talk about that in a short while. And from there, hopefully we'll cross the land border to Dashos into Turkmenistan, fly to Ashgabat, and another flight to Mari, and visit all these locations, of course, and then have a long drive, again crossing the land border back into Uzbekistan again to visit Bukhara, Samarkand, historically extremely important and beautiful city. And we'll fly via Tashkent to Almaty, the former capital of Kazakhstan. And from there, we will drive and crossing another land border to Bishkek, spend our time there, have a side excursion, and then fly back. So we will fly into Tashkent. Now, Uzbekistan is the biggest of these 4 countries, with a population of 35 million people. And the capital, Tashkent, it has a population of about 2.5 million. a it is a, it was devastated in an earthquake in 1966, and it was mostly renovated after that. So most of the places, most of the sites that we're going to see will have been either built or renovated after that. But even before that, the city has undergone a modernization from 1920s onward, once they joined the Soviet Union. So this is a central part of Tashkent. And the historic part is the Kukeldash Madrasa, and this is Hazreti Imam complex. It is a mosque and madrasa complex that was constructed for, or in the name of, an Islamic scholar from 14th, 15th centuries. And this is the historic center, and these kinds of structures and this history we will continue, seeing in various parts of Central Asia, from Tashkent to Khiva to various parts in Turkmenistan. The architecture is beautiful. It also coexists with these Soviet-style apartment buildings. They are still there, and most of the city actually is surrounded by these Soviet-era residential complexes. So that also just takes us back to the period before Uzbekistan's independence, before the collapse of the Soviet Union. And also there are, and this is a new example of a mosque complex. This is from 1990s, after the independence, actually. This was built, the Grand Mosque of Tashkent. So we see how the architecture is different and how the mentality is different. And the madrasas, of course. Now, this is one of the madrasas that actually work as a madrasa. Now, we, of course, know about recent history about madrasas. And when we talk about madrasas, of course, most of the time people have in mind just religious fanatics and just completely religious education. Madrasas did not start like that. This is another view from the courtyard with the students, as you see, all male students over there. They started as learning centers. They are the universities of medieval times in Islamic countries. So they would just teach not only Islam, not only religion, but math and languages and astronomy and literature and everything. So today's madrasas, of course, they are mostly about teaching Islam. And I have to remind everybody that all these four countries, they are secular. The Soviet past that left its stamp in these countries in the form of secularization. It will also be interesting to see how Islam is different, first among these four countries, and for those of you who have visited other Islamic countries like Turkey or Saudi Arabia or Morocco or Jordan, how Islam in these countries are different from all these, Middle Eastern and North African Islamic countries. Being secular here in these countries, the religion is completely under the control of the state. So all these madrasas are being operated by the state. They are officially recognized religious education institutions. In Tashkent, we're also going to visit the central market. That will give us an opportunity to, see all the varieties of food and daily items that people use in their lives, not only for Uzbekistan, but in Central Asia in general. It's quite similar. As I mentioned before, there is no, specific Central Asian cuisine that, you can go to a Central Asian restaurant. Uzbek restaurants here and there you can see, but I never remember seeing a Kazakh restaurant or a Kyrgyz restaurant or a Turkmen restaurant. Basically, The food is, as you see, pickled vegetables, various salads, and stews. Lambs, of course, and like shish kebab and various kebabs. Delicious soups and dumplings and noodles. That is, the variety, I would say, and we will have an opportunity to various opportunities to taste different examples of those in these four countries. This is another scene from the central market. The white stuff you see in the front this is yogurt. This is totally, condensed yogurt that you just can cut into pieces with your knife and fork and eat, or you can mix it with water to use in various cooking, or make yourself some kind of a yogurt drink. So today's just the fashionable Greek yogurt. This is the origin here. This is the original stuff here. It's not Greek. It's Uzbek yogurt, but here what's that? Solid stuff here. So and Uzbek bread. Now, just visiting all these markets, of course, we will see all, as I mentioned, the stuff from daily life. Uzbek bread, it is an indispensable part of the daily diet, and we will see how it is made. We will taste it daily, during our lunches and dinners. And this is the parliament building. As I mentioned, all these four countries, actually, they gained their independence from Soviet Union after 1991. Most of them in 1992, they adopted a constitution. And again, not only for Uzbekistan, but for all these four countries, the Politburo members of these previous Soviets, once the Soviet Union collapsed, they came back to their respective Soviets, and they led the independence in their respective countries. And in 1991 or 92, with referendum, all those Politburo members were chosen as the first presidents of the newly independent countries. For Uzbekistan or Kyrgyz, Kazakh, or Turkmen, this part of history is more or less the same. The names are different, and almost in all of them, those presidents, either their lifetime or they have been presidents for a very, very long time. So this is the parliament building in the center of the city, Independence Square, and this is a popular site among locals too, and we will see that just in all country there's a domestic tourism that people just travel around. And this is the Happy Mother's statue, erected here in 1992 to commemorate the Uzbek independence as a free state. So this is a huge square, actually, Independence Square. And on one side is the parliament, and in the middle there is this statue, and on the other side there are the monuments erected for those who fought in the Second World War. So we will have an opportunity to visit all these complexes and talk about the history of Uzbek independence. Now, from Tashkent, we will fly west to Urgench, I said. Now, here I have to mention that, Uzbekistan, just if you check the map, it is kind of, strange. The Tashkent port, and there is this kind of cul-de-sac, to the no exit little part that extends into Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan and Tajikistan, surrounded by three countries. And to the west, there is this vast desert going all the way to Caspian Sea. So this Tashkent, and to the east, this area is the main agricultural area of Uzbekistan. All the agriculture, the cotton production, and fruits and vegetables, mostly they are produced in this area, Fergana Valley. Here is the small city of Fergana, which is not a part of our trip. This is an agricultural area, and also the other agricultural area is around the river here in Urgench and Khiva, where we are going to fly, crossing the desert, the Karakum Desert. Now, this is Karakum Desert. Is the translation is black sand desert. It has a blackish, dark grayish hue. So we'll have an opportunity to, see it from our plane just flying over. We'll fly into Urgench, and Khiva is just next to that. This is a totally well-preserved 18th century, end of 17th, 18th, and into 19th century, extends into 19th century. It is a very well preserved, very well renovated, actually. It was renovated during Soviet times from mid-1960s to the beginning of 1970s, and it was renovated quite masterfully. So we will visit this Khiva. The history of Khiva goes back to 12th century. It was at the crossroads of Silk Road, and this is actually one of the themes of our trip, Silk Road, starting from China, right, from Xi'an to the west of Beijing, and from there, the trade route that goes through Central Asia to Middle East, into today's Anatolia, today's Turkey, and another route follows up north to the north of Black Sea, through Ukraine into Europe. So that was the main trade route, not only in 13th, 14th century, all the way before that, during Roman times too. And just if we remember that Alexander the Great was also in this region, that was 4th century BC. So we can understand the vastness of history in this region. So Khiva, as I mentioned, dates back to 12th century, and it was renovated. These are the walls surrounding the city, made of mud brick. And I think here is a close-up of the walls surrounding the city, totally renovated, totally intact at the moment. All the city is preserved as a historic site, but it is not a lifeless, historic museum. Just people live there, people work there. Of course, it is a touristic destination at the moment, but still there is agriculture around. There is trade and people's homes, in addition to those restaurants and hotels and hostels and everything. So this is one of the main gates. We go into Khiva, and one of the minarets of the old mosques. The mosque is in the background, and this is a huge complex of madrasas and mosques and palaces and dungeons, and everything that was in the life of 17th, 18th century people. This is one of the palaces, summer palaces of the emir or khan of those times. And as we see, it's all ornamented by tiles. And this was, as I mentioned, a summer palace. So it's just, it provides shade, and the rooms are in the back, and we will see them elsewhere. And all this tile making, that mostly starts from India, comes this way to Central Asia, and from there goes to Iran. For those of you who have been to Iran, you can find familiar themes, very similar ornaments, and very similar techniques here in Khiva. As I mentioned, there is a domestic travel going on activity, and Uzbeks are very, very friendly. They are eager to talk and ask questions. This is a group of students during one of the trips, and they were from a different city visiting Khiva. or elderly people, as we see here, just visiting this historic site and having their pictures taken. These the things in the background, two of them, they are what is that? Ovens to bake those round Uzbek breads that we saw just a short while ago. So just they are also everywhere, next to restaurants or next to houses, in the backyards. So people in their houses, that they use these kinds of ovens to, bake their daily bread. Also, we will have various opportunities, especially in Uzbekistan, to listen to the local music and see local folk dances. Here in Hiva, we'll have a performance, and then later in Bukhara, in a different environment, we'll also have different examples of Uzbek music and dances. This is a family of five. Actually, the other child is not here, but he will be in the picture in the next one. And they are visiting one of the tombs of an Islamic saint, an Islamic scholar. Now, as I mentioned, these are all living places, and in the belief of the Islamic tradition of Uzbekistan, of this region, they venerate this Islamic scholar from 14th century, and they come to visit his monumental tomb to pray for his soul. And at the entrance, there is this well, and the father of the family, he is drawing water in a bucket, and here's the family of five, and it is considered to be kind of holy and kind of, because it's, the water comes from the tomb of this saintly person. It is believed to have certain curative powers, so they all taste the water one by one. Now, for those of you, for example, who have visited Japan, just next to the temples, Japanese temples, there are water sources like these. And it is, there's the same tradition, there's the same belief, and people just go and take the water for its believed to be curative powers. So what I'm trying to say is these places are living places that people come in their daily lives. The locations are significant in their beliefs and in their daily belief system and daily practices. So it's not just touristy location that we or other visitors come to visit. So this is Hiva, the important one of the important centers of Silk Road, and from here we will cross the land border into Dashoz, is the small town in Turkmenistan, and then we'll fly to Ashgabat. Now, crossing the border in itself is an adventure. In this land border, the Turkmen side is quite strict, and they really, just search the luggage of everyone, and especially they check certain prescription medications, and they are, really very thorough. And we still go into Turkmenistan to Dashoz. This was one of the centers, historic centers in from 10th actually to all the way to 14th, 15th centuries. What we see here is a minaret, a remnant of monumental tombs, the Konya Urgench, and again local Turkmens who are there to visit these historic sites. Now, in Turkmenistan, we will see people, especially women, in their traditional clothes. It is more or less a must. I mean, of course, in the cities, in big cities, especially young people, they just kind of, wear modern clothes. But in the countryside, especially, that's one thing. Plus, students, they are, by decree, they have to wear traditional clothes. So, it is a variety of colors. They look really nice, interesting, and they're also extremely friendly people. So we'll visit this site in Tashos or around Tashos, Konya Ulgenç. This is a 60-meter high minaret, which the top part was kind of, it toppled down in an earthquake. And the tradition is, and we'll see it in various other locations too, the tradition is to walk around any holy structure 3 times with prayers and, just for your health or for fertility or for a good marriage, whatever your wish is. Just walk around the structure 3 times, praying for whatever you are wishing for, actually. So from there, we will fly to Ashgabat, to the capital of Turkmenistan. And this is the 6 million people. The total population is 6 million, and most of the country is desert, actually. And the capital, Ashgabat, the population is about 1 million. And so here it is. It is an eerie sight. I mean, the first time I have been to Ashgabat, that was really, it gave me that eerie impression. It's all white marble, big, large boulevards, almost no traffic, and no people around. Of course, there are just locations that people just come out and dine and enjoy themselves. But the city is vast, and this happened after 1992, after the independence. Sapar Murat Niyazov, the first president, he wanted the city. Well, he had certain strange rules. He changed quite a number of different things in the lives of Turkmen people, and this is one of them. The old buildings, they were covered by white marble, and the new construction was all white marble. So it is a big white city, and all these buildings are actually, they have a different colorful neon lights all in the corners, and at night you see all colorful silhouette of the city, just neon lights, neon pink and neon green and neon yellow. So the night view is also quite interesting. And another decree, now we see here some traffic. This is a recent decree. The Sapar Murat Niyazov, he passed away, and Kurban Gulberdi Muhammedov, the second president, and he has been president for quite some time. And just very recently, his son actually was elected as the president, and he took the back seat, but still in power. In any case, one of his latest decrees was to continue this whiteness thing. He ordered all the residents of Ashgabat to have their cars painted in white. Now, this photo was taken a couple of years ago. So we see, cars of different colors, and people were complaining. I read in the news that, just painting the car into white would cost more than the value of the car itself. So I don't know whether that really goes on, that really they really go forward with that or not. Just if we can go to Turkmenistan, just we'll see that, but we'll see. So this is one of the strange things. And the statue, the Sapar Murat Niyazov, he wrote a book, Ruhnama, the book of spirits, in which he shared his wisdom with his people, and it is a compulsory educational book in all schools. And there are all these libraries full of with his books, and especially the Suruknama. And this monument is erected for or to commemorate that book. And underneath, actually, this is a big building, one of the libraries that houses the original manuscript and various other copies of this book. And this is, well, you may have read this, in news quite a number of years ago, that he had his, here we see his statue in gold, and this is on a movable pedestal, and it turns always towards the sun. And this is the location has been changed, and it's not turning anymore with the change of the president. This was taken to a smaller park of the city at the moment, so it's not quite visible in the center of the city, but still it is there. So Ashgabat, in that sense, is a very interesting city. And just to remind another aspect of Turkmenistan, just we all know about North Korea being very closed and very restrictive and everything. Turkmenistan is maybe even more. I mean, we don't read about Turkmenistan because they don't work on a nuclear bomb, or they don't try to militarize or anything, so they are not in the foreground in the news. But the country is closed, and it is very, very restrictive with all its laws, and with the press, with the education. At some point, this first president, for example, for whatever reason, he closed up the countryside hospitals and asked everybody come to a few big cities if they are sick. That is a strange thing. He changed the names of the days. He changed the names of the months, giving them his name and the name of his mother and his father and that kind of stuff. So I think just I gave the idea. So this Ashgabat is, in that sense, an interesting city, and historically also it is interesting. The capital of the Parthian Empire in 3rd century BC, Nisa. The ruins of Nisa is just outside the city, actually. So we'll visit the capital of the Parthians outside Ashgabat if we can go to Turkmenistan. So I don't want to just raise your hopes about that, which I will explain at the end of this presentation. So in any case, from Ashgabat, we will fly to Mari. Now, this desert here, the other one was Karakum Desert, the Black Sand Desert. This is Kızılkum Desert, the red sand desert, which it has a red hue in color, the sand. So they make a big complex, a desert, a vast desert area to the western part of Central Asia. And in between there is Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Afghanistan. There'll be this mountain range. And to the east is, you see Kashgar here. When we go into China, there is Taklamakan Desert. So that desert, continues from north into Taklamakan. In any case, we'll fly from Ashgabat to Mari, one of the historic centers in Turkmenistan. So this Mari, this has been a capital to at least 4 different empires. It was there when Alexander was there. It was there when Islam came. It was there when Seljuk Turks came. So we see the city walls. It needs quite extensive excavation, which hasn't been done yet, but still there are structures to see around. Now you see this wall round structure here. This is the city wall of one of the earliest versions of the city. Now, Mari, this is not Mary, this is pronounced Mari, and the old historic name is Merv. And we see another city wall here, a bigger one from a much later period. So it extends from Hellenistic period. That means the time immediately after the death of Alexander the Great, and then Sasanian period, which precedes today's Persians, and then Abbasid period, which is the start of Islamic expansion at the at the end of 9th, at the beginning of 10th centuries. And then Seljuk Turks that came from more east and came this way and captured and turned Merv actually into one of their capitals. And from there, they went all the way to Iran and captured Isfahan, and then Isfahan became their capital. So this is an aerial view. And as we, visit, this is one of the structures, remnants of a palace from Abbasid period. That means from the beginning of 10th century. And this is a monumental tomb of Sultan Sanjar, who was one of the founding sultans of the Seljuk Empire. And so from 11th century, and the monument was renovated by today's Turkish government, Republic of Turkey. And as anywhere else, again, people come here to visit these monumental tombs and to pray. So we'll visit this Merv. We'll visit the. It has a very, very nice museum that has exhibits of all those artifacts that were excavated in this area. And also we'll visit another complex just nearby, which is the Mausoleum, a monumental tomb, and a religious complex erected for an Islamic scholar, a Sufi scholar from 13th, the end of 13th, beginning of 14th centuries. So this is an active place, especially on certain religious days. And people come here to visit the tomb of this Islamic scholar. To pray, and there are communal kitchens. They cook, they bring all their stuff, and they cook food in these communal kitchens over there, and then they share what they cook and just sit there and eat. So it's an interesting sight if that is a religious day that people come. Plus, if we can, just go into Turkmenistan, that's another caveat here. So from Mari, after spending our day and night there, we will drive northeast towards Uzbekistan, cross the land border again, and drive to Bukhara. Bukhara, one of the very interesting centers in Uzbekistan. Now, on the way, this is our comfortable bus. Of course not. This is, just we have modern buses and everything, but crossing the borders, in between two borders in the no man's land, we'll have to carry our luggage, and we'll have to take either vans or little buses like this, just for a couple of minutes, from Turkmen border to Uzbek border, or vice versa, and the first time we cross the border. So this is just an example of how we cross the border there, because our buses cannot cross from one country to the other in between these two countries. And this is an important river Oxus in the ancient world, in the Hellenistic world, and it's in the Islamic world. It's called Amudarya. River Oxus. This is one of the main rivers in Central Asia. And during the time of Alexander the Great, with his men, he crossed this river. Of course, they didn't have this kind of a pontoon bridge. They crossed the river, and it was one of the points that he crossed into today's Turkmenistan, and on his expedition into to India. So in that sense, the river is really historically important. So crossing the bridge into Uzbekistan and then driving, we'll come to Bukhara. Bukhara, the whole historic center is today under protection, and it's a UNESCO historic site. And it was a very important center of learning and a center of Islamic culture, starting from Abbasid times. That means starting from 11th century. Of course, the town existed long before that as a commercial center, as an important market center, market city on the Silk Road. But with the Islamic culture now, just to remind, Islam started at the end of 6th century. Muhammad died in 633, and afterwards the expansion of Islam was very quick. By the mid 800s, actually mid 700s, Islamic armies were already in Kyrgyzstan and fighting against Chinese in 750s. So by the 9th century, they were already here, formed their little kingdoms, little emirates, little city-states. So from those times onwards, all these madrasas and schools and mosques and hammams, bathhouses and everything started to flourish. So this is one of the palaces, just resembling the previous palace that we saw the photo in Hiva, but this is a much bigger, grander place that we're going to visit, and also a very interesting and beautiful monumental tomb. Samani Mausoleum. The person buried here was the founder of Samani dynasty. Now there were these all local dynasties that took power from the Abbasids, from the big caliph who was living in Baghdad at the time, and they were just governing the area in the name of the caliph. So after his death, he was buried here, and this monumental tomb was made. And it's one of the best masonry architecture that we can see in Central Asia, and one of the oldest too. So very interesting building that we are going to visit. And again, people everywhere, very friendly. Now, these raised wooden structures, they are everywhere in Uzbekistan, especially. And when the weather is good in spring, summer, and fall, people are outside just having their food and listening to their music. So just these ladies, they waved at us and started to sing and invited our group members to dance with them. So extremely friendly, and this is the center of Bukhara, Liaba Havuz. There is this little pond, and around the pond, all the restaurants and tea houses. And one of the main madrasas is also next to this. And there we're going to have our dinner one night, and also listen to the music and see the local dances. Now, Bukhara in itself is in Uzbekistan. Uzbeks are Turkic, and the language is so. What is common among these four countries? They're all Turkic countries, so they have their origins all the way back in eastern Siberia, in fourth millennium, BC, and just they spread out. The languages changed, the culture, of course, differentiated. So Uzbeks came here in this area not that early, actually, by the beginning of 16th century. And so they have a Turkic language, but Bukhara being close to Tajikistan, which is not ethnically Turkic, but Persian. So ethnic Tajiks are more dominant here in Bukhara region. So the language also different, and culture is also, music and dances are also quite different than what we will see in other parts of Uzbekistan. So from Bukhara, we will drive to Samarkand. Now, of course, logically, there is this, just short road highway that we see on the map that we should, follow. But in reality, that highway has never been in good condition. It is in terrible condition. They, for whatever reason, they haven't repaired it. I don't know whether, just in the last 2 years they repaired it or not, but most possibly not. And because of the potholes and everything, it takes quite a long time. So instead of that, we take the long way. We follow this route to drive from Bukhara to Samarkand. And on the way also, we visit another location, which is Shahrisabz, another small town, which is actually the birthplace of Timurlane. Now, Timurlane today is kind of, national hero of Uzbekistan. And wherever we go, especially in Tashkent, we see his statues and museums that are erected in his name. So his birthplace is here in just before Samarkand, in between these two towns. And we'll also visit that town and see whatever remains of Timurlane's palace, which is quite interesting. Another thing just on this map I need to mention is here is Tajikistan, and to the south is Afghanistan. Now, after 2001, after September 11, when the operation started against Al-Qaeda and Taliban, U.S. forces followed this highway down to Termez and crossed the borders here down into Afghanistan, to Mazar-e-Sharif and Kunduz. If you're following the news, these locations should be familiar names to you. So that is just side information. So we will drive to Samarkand, visiting this Shahrisabz, the birthplace of Timurlane. Samarkand, another important place, another important city on the Silk Road, and one of the highlights of Uzbekistan. So this is the main square, the Registan Square in the center of historic Samarkand, and is surrounded by three madrasas erected in three different periods. They are mostly renovated, and in them they are not used as madrasas at the moment. There are various shops and exhibition halls, so we'll spend some time here. This is the night view. They have a night light show, and if they are still doing that, we'll come at night and also see the light show at night. And this is now Timurlane. We said he was born in that city, Shahrisabz, outside Samarkand. And Samarkand was his capital once he got the power of the Mongol Empire at the beginning of 15th century. And he made Samarkand what it was at the time. All the buildings, most of the buildings actually, were erected. All the madrasas were erected in his time. And Samarkand, during the time of Timurlane, was a center of learning, a center of not only religious, but scientific learning at the beginning of 15th century. Now, just comparing, this is a total, what is that? In contradiction with the guy's personality. I mean, he extends the empire to the west, and wherever he goes, he destroys completely and kills thousands of people. But in his capital, he was, a giver, a builder, a man of science, and who appreciates arts. This is his tomb, actually, his monumental tomb. So we will visit the tomb. This is the night view of the tomb. And we will just talk more in detail about Timurlane and his empire and how he is related to Genghis Khan, for example. For those of you who are planning to visit Mongolia in August, this will be a continuation of that from the empire of Genghis Khan, the great Mongol, to Timur, who just took over his empire and continued his conquest. So we will. This is the portal inside, and the tomb is down here. Again, Timurlane's tomb. And Samarkand is important historically, that is one thing. And also it is, and the surrounding area is agriculturally important. They grow grapes and they have vineyards. So recently they started producing wine and brandy. So we'll have an opportunity of also to visit the most prominent wine and brandy producer and have a small wine and brandy tasting in Samarkand. Now, after our days in Samarkand, we will fly to Tashkent, just a connection flight, and from there we will fly to Ashgabat. I'm sorry, not to Ashgabat, to Almaty. To Almaty, changing the countries into Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan, it is a huge country land-wise. It's big. Yeah, that was also one of the Soviets in Soviet Union times. Population is about 19 million people. Almaty is the biggest city and commercial center with 2 million population. It was at some point the capital, and now it's not. The capital is all the way up north, Astana. It was called, but recently its name was changed to Nur Sultan after the name of the first president. So the first president just changed, it gave his name to Astana, to the capital. Anyhow, we will be in Almaty. This is the aerial view. It's quite a modern city. It doesn't have a very, just its history doesn't go back all the way to, 13th, 14th, whatever centuries like Uzbekistan or Turkmenistan does. It was a commercial center. It is, and it was on the Silk Road, but we have to remember that this is now a different culture from the settled cultures or in Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan. We are up north here, and this is the introduction to the nomadic culture. We are in a different region with the Kazakh steppes. The people were different. The settlements were different. Today's Almaty is as I mentioned, a more modern city. And just we'll climb up to the main hill, Kuktepe, to have that view over there. Just we'll use this kind of cable car. And we'll also spend some time to visit the important sites in the city. This is Pamphilov Square. This is the main square of the city with one of the Russian Orthodox churches. That is an active church here. And well, this is one of the monuments in both in Kazakhstan and in Kyrgyzstan. The Soviet artifacts are more or less there in their places. They haven't, just destroyed them or just took them out of sight and moved them to a different location like they did in other, in Baltic states, for example, or in Poland or in, Ukraine after the independence. They are still there and they are proud of that history. So we can see the Soviet influence still going on even today. This is a monument erected for the heroes of the Second World War, again in in the main park in the city. And the Museum of National History, just we see the star and certain symbols, sickle and hammer and sickle from Soviet times. Just without any change, everything is there. The museum is extremely interesting, though. It has very nice artifacts excavated from different parts of Kazakh steppes, especially from the artifacts that go back to Scythians, the gold artifacts, and various artifacts from shamanistic traditions, ethnographic material. So this is really a very interesting museum that we are going to visit. The Scythian gold treasures are really really worth seeing. And also another tradition is gaming, just with falcons and eagles. So we'll visit another center and learn about how they hunt with these, with the falconry and with eagles. We will see demonstrations, and that is really, really extremely interesting and enjoyable. Here is one of the eagles with its prey in its mouth. So we'll spend our time in Almaty, and from Almaty we will drive to Bishkek, the capital of Kazakhstan, and I'm sorry, the capital of Kyrgyzstan. Kyrgyzstan is a much smaller country, like Turkmenistan. The capital, the population is about 6 million people, and the capital Bishkek is about 1 million. So it also did not change. It is in the shadow of the Altai Mountains. Here we see the mountain range to the south of the city. And this is the main square in Bishkek. And quite a number of artifacts, as I mentioned before, from Soviet times are still there, like the statue of Lenin here. And the building in the background is the National History Museum. Well, for a number of years, it was under renovation, so it was closed. I visited the museum a number of times in my previous visits, but for the last visit, it was closed. And I hope it will be open this time because it is really a very interesting museum. And there is, change of guards in front of the museum, so most probably we'll be there during the change of guards, and we'll also see that. Coming back to the museum, one of the times I was there, there was a student event going on with students from various schools having their performances over there. So we see all these students. But the interesting part of the museums comes not only from its exhibits, but from the structure itself. The structure is preserved as it was during the Soviet times. It's ornamented, I would say, with frescoes and statues and reliefs that depict, for example, this one here, I'm sure it's obvious, the evil American military might. You see the symbol of the United States here, riding a Pershing missile, bringing death, just against peace that Soviet Empire is providing for these countries. So, or Marx and Engels here, leading the proletariat here, leading the revolution, or Lenin giving a speech to the workers just before, and in the background there's Marx here. So all these artifacts from the Soviet times, they are intact in the building, and that makes the building extremely interesting. To visit the building itself is like going back in history to the Soviet times. So hopefully they will have finished with the renovation, and I hope they will not destroy these and preserve these. So we'll be able to visit the museum and see this part of history from the Soviet times. So after our full day in Bishkek, in our second day, we'll have an excursion outside Bishkek to visit another historic site, Balasagun, the site of the city of historic Balasagun from 11th, 12th centuries. That was the capital of the Karahanid Empire. It was an important center in its time. So we'll visit all these stones. These were gravestones of the nomadic Turkic tribes. They are called balbals. And from, when we check them, inspect them from close by, we see all different faces, presumably the faces of the imitations of the faces of the person who is buried there. So all different examples of these are preserved in this region. So we'll also have the chance to see and talk about these balbals, these gravestones of the nomadic Turkic tribes in this area. So with this, we also visit a local village, we'll visit a local family, have lunch with them, and one of the nights we'll visit a yurt, one of those nomadic big tents, have dinner there, listening to the local musicians. So that will be the end of our trip. And from Bishkek, we will fly back, and that'll be the end of our 16-day trip. Now I will stop sharing my screen and let me turn on my camera here. Now, one thing I have to mention is this itinerary. This is really, I love this. I love this area. This is an extremely important and interesting trip. At times, it can be a little bit tiring, but let me first start from this. Now, because of COVID, of course, all these countries were closed for the last 2 years. And now Uzbekistan is open, Kazakhstan just opened up, Kyrgyzstan is open for travelers, but Turkmenistan is still closed. And the last time I spoke with the Turkmen embassy here in Washington, D.C., they couldn't give a definite timeline, whether they'll be, whether they will open the country for travelers or not. So there is a big chance that Turkmenistan may still be closed and we may not be able to visit Turkmenistan. In that case, what are we going to do? What we are going to do is we will follow the same itinerary, starting with Uzbekistan, going all the way to Khiva. We will not cross into Turkmenistan, but from Khiva, we will drive to Bukhara and Samarkand and all those places. We will continue with that. What we are going to do is we will include the capital of Kazakhstan, Astana, or Nur Sultan with its new name. So we will fly from Samarkand, either via Tashkent or from Tashkent directly to Almaty. Visit Almaty. From there, we will fly up north to the capital of Kazakhstan, to Astana, Nur Sultan, and spend 2 days there. That is also a very interesting city, and in the sense that it started as a kind of a replica of Ashgabat, the capital of Turkmenistan. So it shares, similar structures, the building style, the architecture, and the neon lights at night. So they are there, and we'll have access to, we may have, with the World Affairs Council of Houston's arrangements, access to certain special visits, people from the government, and have meetings over there. So there's that possibility too. So and from there we will fly to Bishkek and end up over there, or vice versa, depending on the flights. We are working on that at the moment. So the document that you are going to download from the website, and that was emailed to you, that gives the itinerary as I described in this session, including Turkmenistan. But by next week, I guess this will, just be clear. We cannot just wait for Turkmenistan to open up indefinitely because we have to arrange the flights and the hotels need to be arranged and everything. So if by next week we don't have a positive response from Turkmenistan, then we will have to revise the itinerary, taking out Uzbekistan and extending the trip into Kazakhstan for a longer period of time, including the capital. So that is the important thing. Flights, there's a flight schedule given in the document that you have, which is on Turkish Airlines. They have flights via Istanbul into all of these destinations, actually, to Bishkek and to Tashkent. So we are planning to fly into Tashkent and fly out of Bishkek. And there is one international flight, local flight, from Tashkent to Almaty, and there are 3 domestic flights. If we take out Uzbekistan, then there are only 2 flights, domestic flights, in addition to those. So if we change the itinerary, still Turkish Airlines will be viable. They will have the best schedule. So just, we will change the flight schedule accordingly. And if you are planning to join this trip, please just fill in the application form and get in touch with Maureen at the World Affairs Council office. But please do not go ahead for the flight arrangements. Let's first finalize whether Turkmenistan will be in or out. Depending on that, we'll modify the flights, and then we can go ahead with the flights.
And
so
just one thing regarding the application. Sure. So as soon as it's confirmed whether the country is open or not, then I'll go ahead and upload the application, and I can definitely send everyone who's interested an email with the application. That way we have the accurate pricing on the website, and we're not going back and forth changing the price. We want to ensure that we present the most accurate price for the trip. So on the website, you would only see the itinerary. You won't see the application just yet. Once Ilyas confirms with me, then we'll go ahead and upload the application, and we'll go from there.
Yep. So any questions? Okay, no questions.
There. Okay, you've given us the choices of it's either going to be on or it's going to be off for Turkmenistan. But you are a world traveler. What do you think are the chances? Is it 50%? Less than 50%? What's going to happen?
For Turkmenistan, you mean? Now, the tour will operate. Tour will operate for sure.
Oh, I know.
Will it be? Yeah. About Turkmenistan, I think the chances are low. The chances are low. Yes. So most probably they will not open the country. So most probably by next week we will update the itinerary, and you will see the updated itinerary with more of Kazakhstan, with the capital of Kazakhstan. So we'll do it with 3 countries.
Why are they not interested in having tourism again? I mean, why?
Who knows?
Jeez.
I don't know. I mean, just it is. I can't even guess.
Ukraine, and now I'm not going to go to Turkmenistan too. Good grief. Okay, it's not your fault. I know that.
Well, just what can I say?
Yeah.
That's how it is. Maybe some other time we can have a different trip with Turkmenistan and Tajikistan only, or some other place.
I want to go because having been in Iran, I know about all of these places. And
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Bukhara carpet, Samarkand carpet, I've got them. I want to go and see
where they came from.
Yes, I do. Ugh. By the way, this is not related to the trip, but boy, I watched every single game, the St. Peter's at Jersey.
Go Peacocks. Okay.
The very first one, because I can't stand Kentucky since they're a big rival of Indiana University, my university. So I watched from the first game when when St. Peter's well, they didn't cremate him, but they beat Kentucky. And from then on, I watched every single game.
That's our, yes, neighborhood university. Thanks on behalf of
You don't
Jersey
love
City.
basketball, but
Thank you. Yep.
I grew up in basketball, so yes.
Well, thanks again for that diversion. About the trip, any questions or comments? Or
how about the food? What about tummy bugs and stuff like that? Are there problems like that there?
no, actually, I mean, it is all these countries. They have, first of all, they have very good infrastructure. They are clean. Health is good. Food is clean. And it is quite tasty. Well, of course, having said that, wherever you go, there is always a chance of, having some bowel problems due to certain bugs, certain, intestinal flora that they have, but we don't, that we are not accustomed to. So that may happen, but the remedy is quite easy. You have your antibiotic with you, you have your, just medication with you while traveling, wherever you go. But the chances are really low, as I said. Just cleanliness is quite good in all of these countries. And food is, just delicious. I like it. We'll try kebabs a number of times in different times, or international cuisine. As I mentioned, just salads or pickled vegetables or stews, various noodles or dumplings. They're all delicious.
Okay.
Well, I guess
Thanks,
this is it. I
Julius.
hope you, I hope all of you plan to join this trip. And if not, there are others coming on the World Affairs Council website. So please check those trips. And I hope to see you on this one or on another trip.
I'm in.
Me too.
Thanks, Nancy. It'll be very nice to see you both.
Glad. Yeah.
Okay, thanks again,
All right.
everyone, and
Yeah, and
good night.
I'll go ahead and stop the recording, and everyone has my email, so please, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be back at the council in the next few weeks. I'm currently not there. I'm in North Carolina, but either myself or someone else from the office can definitely respond to any of your emails if I'm not available.
Okay. Thanks, Maureen.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Julius.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks and good night.
Bye.